Hello, and this week's first episode is Splinter. Clark takes a bad trip and thinks everyone in the world is against him. Then, in Solitude, Jor-El has poisoned Martha, and the only way to save her is to destroy the fortress. This is the SMALLVILLE Chronicles.
Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
Well, hello again. We are back. I'm Luke Gonzalez, joined, as always, by Alan Muir.
Feels good to be back and be talking about two really good episodes.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time, that we don't really get another bad episode this season. There's some that are not great, and then there's like a bunch that are amazing. I think these two are closer to the amazing than to great. Like I would say, like Lexmas is like top 10 episode all time, and then you have the 100th episode, and then Mercy is like one of my favorite episodes of all time, which is like the death trap with Martha and Lionel.
Oh yeah,
I really would dig that episode because I just like, it's a super John Glover heavy episode, which is always glorious. But it also has like a ton of Annette O'Toole, who's like very underutilized early in these seasons because of Schneider and Glover being there. Like, she doesn't have as much work to do, but she is still very good. So I don't remember, did we talk about the connections to Crisis that have been announced last time?
No.
All right, so let us start with that. So as if we willed it to existence, like Hunter and the Moon Knight television show, both Clark Kent and Lois Lane from Smallville will be appearing in CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths. We don't know if he will be appearing, if Welling will be appearing as Superman. I have a feeling no. I feel like we would have seen pictures of him in costume. Also, I don't know if they have a costume for him.
From what I've read, they do have a costume. Like, he's gonna be Superman. He's gonna be wearing the black suit.
Oh, that is interesting. So I guess, yeah, because they have two suits for, what's his name, Hodgson?
For Hecklin.
And
Ralph.
Ralph has a brand new suit.
Yeah, he has the Kingdom Come suit, and Hecklin just has the Supergirl season. Yeah,
his standard suit. Yes, and so you're saying that so will they be using? They can't use the black suit from last crossover from Elseworlds because it's too small for Welling. Because Welling's even bigger than Routh, and he barely fit into Routh's costume, which is the one that they use in the show from Superman Returns for that like one shot in finale. And that's why like you don't really see much of it, is because it didn't really fit him. But I don't know. We are 4 months away from that.
We are actually 3 months.
3 months? Yeah, it's the final episode of Arrow is the start of Crisis. Although, if anybody watches those shows, they're building to Crisis from the jump. Like, Arrow's already jumped to another universe, and we've seen, the best Black Canary costume that has ever reached TV. And we have also gotten, we've seen early shots of, from, oh my god, what is that terrible other show that Warner Brothers did?
Oh, Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey, yeah. So the Huntress from that is appearing. We already have photos of that. So we have no photos of Welling or, oh my god, I'm forgetting her name right now.
Erica Durance,
who's already been in Supergirl as Supergirl's birth mom. So we haven't gotten that. There was the kind of news with Rosenbaum. So as of right now, and I say that like Sony and Marvel talking, as of right now, Rosenbaum is not appearing in Crisis. He said that they basically gave him an offer while he's
visiting his sick grandfather,
yeah, in the hospital, or I think in hospice, actually, something like that.
Yeah, and he was given virtually no information. Low pay, he would be low paid.
Basically, like, come just do this as a favor, or like just to be a part of it. Which, yeah, and he basically told them like, no, I'm not dealing with this. I need more information. So, although like I was thinking, as much as I would love him to appear as Lex, how much better would it be if he appeared as an alternate Earth Wally? Like
Yeah,
if he was in
the DC animated universe.
Well, especially if he came from the Conroy universe that we know that's happening.
But here's the thing. That's the from what I've seen, that's the Batman Beyond.
I know, but I don't remember if we ever knew what happened to Barry in the Batman Beyond universe, like the post animated. Because I'm trying to remember when they did like future Justice League stuff. Superman was still there.
Oh, are you talking about the episode where
there's like 2 episodes of like Justice League where we see like the new Justice League. We know like Jon Stewart and Hawkwoman have a kid.
Yeah, Static is on the team.
Yeah, Static is there. We have the young Green Lantern, the Aquaman's daughter, and we never really know what happened to Flash. So they kind of never did anything with it. So, and I don't remember them ever doing anything in the comics with it either, like for the Batman Beyond comics. So, because it wouldn't be old enough to be Bart.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So, I don't know. It's something they could do, which, again, like, we only have at this point 2 Flashes that they could do, which there's only one other one they could do, which would be Ezra Miller, which there's, like, no news on. But, yeah. I guess we will talk about it next time if there's any more news. I don't know. It's just crazy everything that they're bringing into Crisis. It's virtually every show that's ever been done ever is having some sort of representation in it. There's rumors of Krypton, which we covered here. There's only like one show that has no rumors of being connection, which I love. Ooh, yeah. So you just sent me the picture of like, if they do that suit, that's like the best suit for him, which was from like the beginning of Rebirth, I think.
Yeah, it was.
It's like a throwback to the old black suit, but he doesn't have a cape.
It was from Superman. It was the Lois and Clark miniseries, coming out of Convergence.
Yes,
where it's 5 years in the past during the Justice League's first fight with Darkseid.
Yeah, it's like weirdly, it's very Infinite Crisis kind of idea where there's like the old Superman and Lois Lane are still there with John.
Yeah.
And then they like smush them together to make a amalgam new Superman. I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about Superman Reborn?
Yeah, very convoluted.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about our first episode, which is not convoluted and it's goddamn awesome. So that's episode 7 of season 5. Written by Stephen S. DeKnight, directed by James Marshall. So this is Splinter. This episode is like kind of a really awesome idea that
it's a much better take on like a Superman being like
unhinged. It's kind of like what you get in the first Injustice video game, but on a much slower burn of what the Joker does to him to like set him off. It's kind of similar to like a fear toxin thing, but it's like a slower burn, which I like more.
It reminded me a bit in certain ways of the Plutonian in Irredeemable.
Okay, I have not read Irredeemable yet.
It's basically
like by many TV shows, it is on my back burner of many comic books.
It's a Superman-esque character. Mark Wade wrote it, and he just one day, or he heard all the bad talk people were saying about him, and he just starts going crazy. And it's up to the rest of the pseudo Justice League to find a way to save him or to kill him, and not make sure it doesn't take down like the planet with him.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like a similar idea that they did in Powers, the TV show season 2, as opposed to Powers, the book, where like I think it's Michael Madsen's character is like basically like a Superman, but he's so old that he's becoming senile, and like kind of having what we see in this episode is like it's more like Alzheimer's, which you can get hallucinations with, and fucking just murdering the shit out of people because he's hallucinating them as other people. So, which let's get into this because this is a great idea because it starts so small and it shows like how great the villain of this season is. So basically we start with Lana's in the dorm room that they established that her and Chloe are now roommates in. she gets
after the events of the vampire episode.
Yes. So she gets a package, which it makes it obvious that it's from Lex. She opens it, or Clark brings it into her. He opens it, and it's a silver like rock, and he scratches his finger on it. Obvious, like red flags everywhere that something could actually scratch him. And it says that it's some new kind of meteor, and he kind of like drops it and leaves. And Lana's like, "What is going on?"
And the thing that is sort of important in the episode is she's studying like meteor.
She's gone like full X-Files, which goes forward for like several episodes.
And this begins her sort of. Can we say that this begins her romance, like the
yes.
road to her romance with Lex?
Yeah. So up until this point, it's been like a one-sided kind of thing with Lex and Lana. At this point going forward, his like trickling of stuff starts to lend to her swaying from like disliking or mistrusting him to the kind of, it's like that love-hate are like so close together. So like she kind of starts to, like it gets to like build on their relationship through like them sharing a secret. So she's weirded out. Clark leaves. He has like some black truck pulls up behind him and like freaks him out, and then he ends up like wrecking the truck in a ditch. And then when he gets out, there's
yet another car that is
destroyed. He gets out, the black truck is gone, but he gets a phone call that's like a garbled, "I know who you are," very "I know what you did last summer" kind of a thing. From here, we see Jonathan is reading a paper about Lex's state senatorial run. And basically him and Martha are joking about taking Jack, who we saw in the previous episode, who has stepped down, like his place. She's like, "Oh, like, it could be really bad for your health, and it'll put a spotlight on us that, can get Clark's secret out there." And this is when Clark shows up, and they're like, "What the hell happened to the truck?" And he's like, basically tells them, he's like, "All right, just stick to your normal routine." Because they think at this point that it could be people thinking that he's going to take the spot. So it could be like Lex's people.
Yeah, like a case of blackmail.
Mm-hmm. So the next day in Professor Fine's history class, he does a lecture on powerful people who are betrayed by close friends, like Julius Caesar. And basically, Jesus, this is like poking the dog kind of a thing.
Yeah, like all started out as friends and were eventually betrayed.
Mm-hmm. And so during this, he after Clark is getting leave, he picks up his backpack and a piece of kryptonite falls out. And there's a message on the wall that says, "I know how to kill you." And Clark talks to Professor Klein about like the black truck, and finds like, "Yeah, the same truck has been following me. I think it's Lex that's doing it. I think he thinks that you're part of like my investigations." And he's like, "Here, I jotted down the license plate," and gives it to Clark.
And he's gonna bring it to Chloe to track it down.
Yes, because Chloe is I don't even know, she's our get information that there's no way they could possibly know machine in the series for a long time.
She's basically Oracle.
Yes, well, that's who she is. She is what Felicity becomes. She's basically Oracle from the comics, which is what Batgirl became, but they can't name her that. So
I was watching Absolute Justice, I think yesterday, and her nickname actually ends up being Watchtower, ironically.
Yes, which I'm trying to remember. Felicity's it's not Skywatch, is it Overwatch? Right? Yeah. Which the Watchtower is like a thing to the Watchtower satellite that the Justice League uses from time to time. So Clark notices that she has an email, and it's from Lionel saying there are no secrets. And Chloe's like, "Yeah, that truck doesn't exist." And he's just like, "You're not telling me like the truth. You're working for Lionel." And she's like, whoa, what's going on? I'd never do that.
And at first she's like, "Wait, you read my emails?" Like she was not happy about that. And then Clark just storms out.
Mm-hmm. So we get Lana goes to Luthor Mansion and is like, "Thank you for the new meteor rock." And Lex is like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Yeah, you definitely sent me this, and I need to know what's going on. Tell me about the spaceship." And he's like, "I'm not going to say there is a spaceship or there isn't. Whatever I'm doing to protect you."
And she's like, no, I don't need to be protected. I can handle myself.
And then she brings him to a warehouse and shows him his big, large, girthy ship. And it's big and black too. So, and then she's just like, "Oh shit!" And basically, like, we cannot tell anybody about this. Like, they're like,
I love the part where she's like, "It's so smooth."
yeah, it is. It's like it's so like not sexual, but like very built as like a sexual thing. That they're like, "Oh my god, it's so big and it's like so smooth." And he's like, "Yeah, you cannot tell anybody, but we can work together to try to figure this out. Like, none of my scientists can figure out shit." And she's like, "All right, well, I still don't trust you, but I will work with you."
Yeah, and then we go over to the Kent farm, and Lionel drops in to see Jonathan.
Yeah,
and
this is like real interesting scene because this is when we start to get.
This ultimately leads to the downfall of a certain character.
Yes, the episode 100 stuff, but it also ties into like how do we don't really know when it's Lionel and when it's Jor-El emissary mode Lionel. So like I don't know if he's doing this because of the things he kind of says, which is basically that like he wants Lionel to do it for like two reasons. One, because he thinks that if Lex gets into politics, like his lean into the dark side will just go like way overboard, and he doesn't want Lex to become that. But at the same time, he also he knows he can't control Lex, and he thinks that he could control Jonathan.
Yeah, his exact words were, "Lex has always had a thirst for power, and if he gets this, I don't want him taking the Earth or something."
No, it's definitely alluding to when Lex becomes president, which they tease in the show from like episode 2.
Yeah.
So when this is going on, Clark shows up and he's like, "What the shit is going on?" Freaking out. It's like, "Did you tell?" He sees like Lionel give Jonathan a thing of cash, and is like, "I know Clark's secret, and unless you accept this deal, we'll like tell the world." And that Jonathan takes the money, and that they're going to experiment on Clark. So Clark's like freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, Martha comes up to him, and does he hit her or does he elbow her, and she just flies back?
Yeah, they like come in, and he rips the thing out of Jonathan's pocket, and it's like, "Here's the money. This is blah blah blah." And they're like, "That's not what it is. It's like Lex's campaign sheets." And he's like, "Don't lie to me." And yeah, he like. Martha like goes to like touch him, and he like kind of does his Clark thing and like kind of like it's not like a shove, it's like a shoulder kind of like "get off me" if somebody grabbed you from behind, and she goes fucking flying.
And Jonathan goes tries to get to him.
Yeah, and he like choke slams him up against the wall.
Yeah, and he says to him, "You were never my son. You were just a thing I found in the cornfield," which
like breaks Clark. So
and also that and Chloe's been throughout this point. Chloe knows that something's wrong, and we hear the kryptonite sound effect, and then we see Chloe holding kryptonite right up behind Clark, and he just destroys the door for what has to be the 1,000th time.
Mm-hmm.
And so zooms off.
And then Chloe and the Kents are kind of talking, and they're like, "Yeah, he accused me of betrayal too."
Well, no,
Martha's like, "Maybe this is red kryptonite," and they're like, "No, red kryptonite does something else to him. It makes him like uninhibited."
This is actually the first episode that the Kents realize that like that Chloe knows Clark's secret.
Oh yes, because she shows up with the rock.
Yeah, like and there they have a confused like, "What the hell?"
Mm-hmm.
And Chloe mentions that there's a meteor rock that delivered
that Lana got that
with silver.
Which you're like, "Oh, we've never heard of silver," because that's at this point in the canon of the show, the third type of kryptonite. Although this show, I don't remember if they do it first, where they give us. I know, like, red has obviously been around forever, but silver. Oh, this is the fourth type because we already had black in this series. But like, red and black have always been around. I feel like, and blue. And I think they created silver and gold for the show, but we can talk about those when because silver is like not. Well, we'll get to it at the end of the episode. Silver is kind of like a different thing. And gold is something like I never read or saw before, and we'll get to that when we get to like season 10.
Yeah, like there's green, red, gold, blue, and white.
Yeah, because green makes you weak, red makes you like uninhibited, Blue takes away your powers only when it's near you. Gold takes away your powers permanently. Silver makes you crazy. Black like separates the good side and the bad side of you. I guess
it's mainly a separation of. I mean, we've only seen it on Supergirl and.
Yeah, it doesn't. And in Supergirl, it's not a
Smallville.
good and bad. It just like kind of separates you. It's kind of like an amoeba splitting thing. Yeah, so we'll get to it. I think there's like another episode where we see Black Kryptonite later on.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically they have a discussion and they're like, yeah, this cannot be red kryptonite because like Martha's like, oh, it must be red, and they're like, no, this is different. This is like he's basically like, and also Clark looks like dog shit throughout this. Like he is.
Oh yeah, there's
clammy and yeah.
By the time he gets to their mansion, he looks like he's just gone. He's been literally walking through hell.
Yeah, he like looks like he's like flu or like withdrawals, like kind of gaunt and fevery and pale and just really moist and like fever sweating. Like he looks like the worst flu symptoms you could think of. So we go Clark, Lana finds Clark in her dorm room and he's like kisses her and he's like, we need to go north. And she's like, wait, what is going on? And Clark's like, you told Chloe. And she's like, no, like, he's like, don't trust Chloe. And then he leaves and Chloe's like, Lana's like, I don't know what to do. Because she's like, something is wrong with Clark. He's freaking out.
And Chloe mentions that he's been affected by the silver meteor rock or by the silver kryptonite.
Yeah, because they can kind of paint it off that like, yeah, the meteor rocks like really do mess with people. And like whatever this thing like you did, like when it cut him, like did something to him, even though like she doesn't have to tell him the secret. So yeah, then like Lana's like really unsure, this is kind of goes into the like again where Lana doesn't know, like Lana not knowing the secret pushes her towards Lex. So Chloe's just basically like, I'm gonna go find Clark. If you find him, just keep him calm until like I come back. And then Clark goes to Professor Fine and asks him about the black trucks and finds like, Clark, you haven't been in class in like a week. I don't know what you are talking about.
Yeah, and he tells him to go away in his office, and that he'll come back and talk, like work things out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hit the nightmare.
Yeah, so Fine comes in and he's just like, yeah, like whatever. Like his was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And Fine's like, yeah, I have to go to a meeting, but you could just stay here and chill out. And then Clark goes to his he like leaves his office and he's like, he's in kind of, I don't know even how to describe it. It's like very Games of Thrones-y. Like he's like popping through different
different mishmashes of different things. Like his
yeah, it's like a vision quest kind of thing. Like he's hallucinating out of his mind. So he's in the spaceship. He's in the cradle. There's a child running through the shadows. He hears Lex talking about like invading aliens and that he's going to kill Clark. And the room starts to fill with green gas. And then he like kind of stumbles out. And we cut back to the mansion. And Lana's like, what the shit, Lex? Like, I know you sent this to me. It did something to Clark. What is going on? And he's like, I did not send you anything. And it's like, yeah, Clark cut his finger on it. And it's like, and Lex is like, wait, Clark got cut? And it's like, yeah. And like, it's freaking him out. And he's like, all right, well, we'll get Clark here. And then I'll take the rock to Luthor Corp and we'll try to find a cure. And Clark is like looking through the window and like in his delusion sees Lana and Lex kiss. And then like
Lana, she puts her head against Lex's shoulder and then looks at him and looks at Clark and smiles.
Yeah, like Lex knows that he's there and he's like doing
and
it.
And then the lights go out.
And then Clark goes on like a rampage.
I imagine it more as like a superhero version of The Shining.
Yeah, that's actually very good. Like, yeah. So he takes out the lights. He goes in, the security guard, like, Lex goes to find out what's going on. He finds the security guard knocked out. And then Clark comes up behind him and is like, are you trying to steal Lana from me? And Lex is like, dude, calm down. I'm like doing nothing. And Clark
it could like he mentions the stuff like all the tests, all the like everything he's done looking into Clark is because he wants Lana for himself. And you can tell by the way that Rosenbaum is acting, like that Lex is sort of starting to think about it. Like that he's like, well, you're not totally wrong, but you're just like specifically wrong. Yeah.
And then like he's like kind of throwing Lex around. Lex has a gun, and he like twists that out of his arm. And then he uses his super hearing vision and X-ray vision to see Alana's in the basement. He goes to her. He's like, "We were meant to be together, and I've stopped Lex." And she's like, "Did you hurt him?" And she's like, "I did not kiss Lex." And he's like, "I don't believe you." And he starts to like Anakin to Padme, like choke the shit out of her. And this is when Professor Fine shows up, and it's like, "Stop this, Clark!" Pow! And
he
runs away.
He says, "If you destroy Lana, or if you kill Lana, it'll destroy you."
Mm-hmm. It's very again Anakin Padme like Star Wars Episode 3.
Well, this had come out about
probably like a year later.
No, this is November 05.
Oh, so this is like before Episode 3, right?
This is 4 or 5 months after Episode 3 come out.
Okay. Oh, so it's like simultaneous kind of thing. Because that is like it's almost like the exact same scene when like Obi-Wan shows up. So Fine super speeds away, and Clark's like, "What the shit?" And super speeds after him. And then he's like evading him, and Clark's like he's trying to calm down Clark, and basically Fine uses like heat vision to knock Clark down, and basically like, the reason like I've been doing this is because I'm also Kryptonian, and then he pulls out a device that pulls out the silver K from Clark's neck.
Yeah, he calls him Kal-El and then just speeds off.
Yeah. And Clark, like Lex arrives and Lana's unconscious in Clark's arms. And we cut to the hospital and Lana's recovering and Chloe's there too. And she's like, basically she's like, I will leave. And Clark's like, I'm sorry. And Lana tells Clark, Chloe explained to her that the meteor rock was responsible for like his powers. And he's just like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I think he even says like, I don't really remember what the hell was going on. And she's like, that there would never be anything between her and Lex, which obviously we know that that's not true. And Chloe's like outside, and Clark's like, "Thank you for covering for me." And then he's like, "I don't even know what would happen, like what I would do if I had killed Lana." Chloe's like, "It wasn't your fault, like whatever that silver kryptonite," which we get to and in a second, but like they're basically just like, "Oh, it wasn't your fault." And Clark asks her like what happened to it, and she's like, "In all of the stuff going on at the mansion, like it disappeared." And Chloe's like, I have actually been emailing Lionel, but I'm trying to get inside information on Lex's Senate campaign. And she's like, that she would die before she told anyone Clark's secret. And Clark gives her a hug. And we see Lex back at his house. He's all bandaged up. And Lionel tells him that he might not want to let this story get out of a jealous young man that beat the crap out of him.
Over a woman.
Yeah. And Lionel advises like all of Lex's efforts to change his image won't help with those who already know who he is, and that Lana will never love him, which is like the full on. I don't know if this is the second time, but like it's like when it's kind of again put out in the open that he is in love with Lana, which to reiterate is really weird. I guess it's less weird now, but like he met these people when they were freshmen in high school, and he was like 21. So
they're in college. It's creepy, but
now it's good. But he's had a crush on like a girl since she was 15 and he's 21.
It's sort of like the whole Demetri Martin thing about you're okay to say you like kids, or what's the way he said it? I like kids, but you can't say like I love 12-year-olds. It's like Lex is like teenagers are cool. I like 15-year-olds.
Yeah. So you go to Clark is talking with his parents about what happened, and he's like, I don't even know what was real or not. And they like think that the infection burned itself out of him, and Clark's like doesn't tell them about Fine at all because he thinks that he imagined all of that as well. And Jonathan's worried that like if he joins the Senate race, he's going to put all the scrutiny. And Clark's like, no, we shouldn't let fear like rule our family.
And then Clark goes into the loft and finds Professor Fine there, and
Fine basically
he's there to make Clark walk the path of a true Kryptonian.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, why do you trust these humans? They don't really impress me that much. And they kind of have this like kind of philosophical talk about like humans, and it basically ends with Fine's like, all right, well, whenever you're ready to accept the truth, I'm here to like help you and like to train you.
Yeah, it's a bit of Fine talking down about humanity, while Clark is doing the opposite. He's actually talking. It's like how some of his best friends are humans.
Yeah, it's also like it's part of the manipulation.
Yeah.
Because we get our kind of not post-credit scene, but basically what would be now a post-credit scene, which is Fine goes to the black ship and he pulls out the rock and basically it like reforms back into the silver part removes and goes back into his body, basically revealing it's not a meteorite, it's just a rock, and that the silver part is actually part of him and that he is the cause of the infection. Fully revealing that he is the villain of this and doing a whole bunch of stuff to manipulate Clark, which continues in the next episode. But this is a great episode, builds on a shit ton of canon, develops like stuff for the season and series, and kind of builds on the maniacalness of Fine. And this is like a episode for me. And I guess like MVP is Welling. Like Welling's the one that's in like 99% of this episode. Although I think everybody does a good job, but he does a great job of playing this like fever, like psycho Clark. I don't know. Did you have any?
We actually get when Lana shows up to the mansion the first time in the episode. Lex is talking to someone named Griff over the phone. We're gonna find out who that is. Get more on that when we get into Locksmiths and Fanatic. So.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, this is a good episode. Was there any other things you want to talk about on this one, or we can move on to the next one?
Just that James Marsters can do no wrong.
Well, yes, but he has. Example, Dragon Ball Evolution. He's not the problem with that movie, but like, yeah. When he is in something that has he is really good when he gets like good stuff to work with. Because like in I've only seen the first season of Runaways. I really like what he does in that show, but he's also not been good in things. But like, it makes sense that he's in here. He was Spike for forever. That show had just ended, and he gets to return to his villain roots. And he does a great job of being a very different character than Spike. It's much more like what he ends up doing in Runaways. So I don't know. He's great. He steals like every scene that he's in, but he like steals it by like not chewing scenery, like doing like he's so subdued that it works perfect for the character, which I don't remember when we get the big reveal. I think it's like a couple more episodes down the road. All right.
Well, the next episode we get the reveal of his where he stands.
Yeah, I don't think we get his name though.
Oh yeah, we don't. We get that later on in the season.
Yes, we get other name drops in this episode though. So our second episode is Solitude. So written by Todd Slavkin and Darren Trimmer, directed by Paul Shapiro. So almost directly coming after the other episode, we have, it's been a few days, but it's very connected. Martha is walking towards the house. There's a weird energy burst in the sky that hits her. Clark hears it from the barn, super speeds there, and Martha's lying unconscious in the driveway. She wakes up and doesn't remember what happened.
Can I just mention the funny opening with Lois is driving is like she took Martha to the store she needed to go to, and Martha is saying how you're really starting to step up responsibility wise, and Lois jokes, well, the car is a fallback in case I get fired or lose, or what, like in the event I lose my job and my apartment, I just sleep in.
Yes. Because Lois is really not involved in much of this early stuff, or at least these couple episodes. So from here, Clark goes to Daily Planet to like ask Chloe about the weather because he thinks his mom gets struck by lightning. Chloe's like, yeah, there's nothing unusual. And Clark's like, oh man, it's probably Jor-El because he's a dick and he like said this shit after he was resurrected. And Jor-El warned him that one of his loved ones would die instead. And he's like, oh, Jor-El's here to collect. And so then we cut to Lex, who's doing a photo shoot at the Talon, and Lois is like, meh, whatever, you're a douche.
Yeah, more like the exact line was, don't you think it's a little smarmy to do a photo shoot where Martha Kent works?
Mm-hmm. Which he is doing it on purpose.
Yeah, and he says, are you unaware that I own the Talon? And
I thought they sold it to Chloe's dad.
No. It's one of those things where
it's like hand wavy. It's like they're just like and her dad is who we've never will see again is just kind of like taking over Lana's role.
Sort of.
Yeah,
And she ends up saying that, like, she ends up talking about her support for Jonathan Kent, and that most people will support Jonathan.
Yeah, she kind of gets into Lex's head a bit, but from here she decides like, all right, I need to help this out. So she goes to Chloe. She's like, all right, can we get evidence that like Lex was committed to Bel Rev? And this is when we cut back to the Luthor mansion, and when the scientist informs like, yeah, there's like a weird electromagnetic like wave coming from the black ship, and this is when Lionel appears and is like, yeah, I know about the warehouse. The public won't tolerate someone running for thing that believes and is obsessed with little green men. And Lex is like, are you shitting me? Like, you've been obsessed with all this crap your entire life. It's like, yeah, and I never ran for public office. And they kind of have this back and forth.
Some of the best back and forths in the series has been between Rosenbaum and Glover. So
we pop over to Clark going to go talk to Fine to get information on Jor-El, and it's like, yeah, I already know about like your deal, but like I'm not going to tell you more like about it, even though Clark's like, tell me, and Clark's like, basically like, oh, you're not going to tell me, and then he talks to his parents and says like, yeah, finds another Kryptonian, and then Jonathan's like, yeah, we've met other quote unquote Kryptonians before. Are you sure that he's like the real deal? And he's like, well, he runs super fast. He knows all about like Jor-El and stuff, and he has laser eyes. So I think this time he's the real deal. And this is when Martha's like, oh, she like drops something and her hand grows numb, and then she gets like this weird, it's like a infection kind of thing, like pattern on her body, like on her shoulder.
It looked very creepy.
Yeah, it's if you've ever had an infection like the red line that kind of happens, it's similar to that, but it's like more swollen and stuff. So they take her to the hospital, and the doctors have no idea what to do, so they release her. Clark goes to Fine again, who's like, all right, well, here, let me tell you what happened. So your dad, Jor-El, used this similar thing on the dissidents of Krypton because he was a ruthless dictator who imprisoned anyone who opposed him. And Clark's like, what the shit? It's like, but it also ties into the message from the ship, which was, well, like, I send you there to be like a god among men and to like lead them or something.
That Clark is sent to conquer mankind and be a dictator.
Yeah.
Or be a king.
Like he's like a god king. It's something, I can't remember the exact words from it, but he's playing on that. And it's like, yeah, including like the rebel General Zod. Oh, big name drop in the show. So Fine's like, Jor-El is actually the one who destroyed the planet, and he sent you here to conquer its people to make a new Krypton. And Fine goes to the home, he looks at Martha, who's getting worse, and she starts to have like a seizure, and he's like, all right. He gets a kryptonite rock, and he's like, oh, and they're like, oh, this is bad. He's like, well, no, it's actually just relieving the pain because the radiation is like doing something because it's jargony babble. And he's basically like, yeah, in a matter of hours she'll be dead. And Clark's like, basically finally tells Jonathan that when he was resurrected, Jor-El warned him that there had to be an exchange, one life for another. And Jonathan's like, I'm mad that he didn't tell him, but he's like, go to the fortress and like confront him. And this is what Clark does. And Jor-El's like, I am not doing anything. But also is like, you can't change your destiny. Which is not true, because it happens in a couple of episodes.
It's more that Clark was selfish.
Yes. Well, basically the entire series of the show is if Clark just did what Jor-El wanted, most of the bad things wouldn't have happened.
No, if Clark did everything Jor-El wanted him to do, there'd be only like 5-6 episodes.
Yeah.
It'd be a BBC miniseries. So
we go back to the Daily Planet, and basically Lionel goes to Chloe and is like, there's a superpowered person at Central State AMM, and guess what? It's not Clark. So Chloe goes and investigates him and follows him around campus. Lois convinces Chloe to help her bring down Lex, and Chloe's like, oh, what about this warehouse that she followed Fine to? And they go in to the warehouse. Lois distracts the security guard, and Chloe goes in, and she sees a T-1000 liquid metal pool at the bottom, or if you're even older, Alex Mack coming from the ship. And it turns into Professor Fine holding a black crystal, reminiscent of the crystals in the fortress. And another guard comes up behind her, and when she turns back, Fine is gone. And then Lois and Chloe escape the highly secure warehouse that they somehow got in and out of with like nobody catching them, even though it has a goddamn gigantic alien spaceship in it.
Well, to be fair, there were only two guards on duty.
Yeah, it's one
guard was inside Lois's car. The other, and if I'm not mistaken, Chloe was in like an air duct.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you have two dudes guarding what could be the most important piece of anything on Earth. Like, what is Lex doing? Yeah,
and then Lois punches out one, and Chloe kicks one and the other one in the groin.
Yeah,
them Smallville girls got away again.
So Martha is continuing to get worse, and Clark is like taking care of her, and she tells him that it's okay. Like, there's nothing on this world that I wouldn't do for you, including dying. Clark, is like, no, confronts Fine, who's like, the only way to save you is to destroy the fortress and break Jor-El's hold on your mother. So they go to the Kawachi caves, he pops the key in, they teleport to the fortress, and Fine's like, oh, here's this black crystal I pulled out of nowhere, you gotta put this in the thing, and it has to be you. And he's just like, what? No, I'm not gonna do that. And basically pulls out a piece of kryptonite, and it kind of says to him basically like, yeah, I'm Kryptonian, but I'm not like that kind of Kryptonian. And says that like, I was created to free General Zod. Reveals like all the stuff we know about General Zod, that he was the real tyrant and kind of the reason why Krypton fell.
And that he goes on a bit of a rant about how like I'm sick of
it's a lore dump.
Yeah, it's lore dump that I'm sick of humans, and now General Zod will come back and he will recreate Krypton on this awful world.
Yeah, and he basically he knocks Clark down, puts a piece of kryptonite on him, and is like, come on, Zod, come out of the Phantom Zone So, I'm trying to remember, they usually say there's like a Phantom Zone projector, but they kind of skip that, and he just like fools around with the crystals, and then like a portal opens up. So, then we come back to the farm, Chloe meets Jonathan, and she's like, I'm telling you what you're seeing, like, Find is not as helpful as his claim. Chloe basically does the fast travel routine with the Kawachi cave and goes to the fortress. Somehow gets from where it teleports her. I guess they teleport you now straight into the fortress, although it didn't do that last time.
Yeah, last time she was like a few.
Well, I guess the fortress hadn't been built yet because he didn't throw the thing.
Yeah.
So I'll forgive that. So she's in the fortress. She takes off the kryptonite, and then Clark pulls out the black spike that Fine had placed into the other crystals. So it stops it. It closes the Phantom Zone. They have a fight, and Clark does his normal thing, which is basically like shoulder checks him and like tosses him, and he gets impaled on the crystals, which looks goddamn awesome. Thing about like Logan in Logan, except it's crystals
instead of a tree.
Mm-hmm. And basically at the same time, the black ship just like disintegrates, and Martha's cured. And so we cut over to Lex, who's like, what did you do to the ship? I know you did something. And then he's just like, do you need to go back to Bel Rev? Because like you're starting to talk delusional again. Which is great. Like he's just questioning Lex's sanity.
And then we get some like talk between Martha and Clark about losing loved ones.
Yeah, this is all build up to what we're gonna get in a couple of episodes, which is kind of great. Because
we also find out that Chloe tells Clark that Lionel's the one who took her off by Fine, and then we get to the point, the bit about the preview where we previewed this episode last time, where it's Clark and Jonathan talking about like he says that he's not going anywhere and you have to live life to the fullest,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, during all this, Clark also reveals that like that Chloe's like, yeah, that Lionel is the one that tipped her off about Fine, and also that Clark went to go find the ship and the ship is gone, so they know that information as well.
Yeah,
and the ending with like the conversation with Jonathan is very foreshadowing for what we will see to come, and we get a lot of awesome stuff in this episode. I do like these two episodes kind of back to back work really well together because they're fine based, and this is another A episode. We get to see again, like we get like one really good scene with Annette O'Toole. We get great Rosenbaum and Glover scenes, and yeah, it's kind of a great kind of things that we get in this episode. So yeah, I would give this an A. I don't know, I really like Lex in this episode, but like Lionel, I think steals every scene he's in, so he's kind of my MVP. Was there anything else you wanted to say about this one before we kind of jump into previews for the next two?
I've got some notes. I got some trivia.
All right.
During the original airing back in 2005, there was a win a Ford Fusion, like a Ford sponsored contest.
Yes, it's like their gigantic sedan.
Yeah, and like Lois's car is a 2006 Ford Fusion, and people who were entering the contest had to identify the song playing during the scene with Lois and the security guard. Which, considering there's no Shazam, there wasn't any Shazam or any other music identifying apps, or there wasn't even an iPhone back in 2005, it would be pretty. Yeah,
you'd have to have an eagle ear and have some way to record the episode and listen to it over and over again.
Yeah. Although we don't see, technically we see Zod.
Yeah, we see like a ghostly image. We don't actually get to see Zod. He's still voiced by Terrence Stamp in this, as opposed to the actor that will end up portraying him several seasons from now.
4 seasons.
Yeah, it was season 8 or 9 is when we get
season 9 we get Callum Blue playing a clone version of Zod.
Yeah, the what do you call it, Candor version, right?
Yeah, he's I think Lieutenant Zod or something. This is before. Yeah,
it's before he turns.
Yeah,
and then he reprises it later on as well.
Yeah, in the next season, where the cool thing is his clone body and his Phantom Zone essence coalesce and become like
it's basically a rebirth version of, or like a reborn version of Evil Zod.
Yeah.
Who we get to meet later on this season in an awesome episode. So was there anything else in this one before we preview the next pair?
There was a brief ad for Superman Returns in the episode.
I did not realize that happened halfway through this series.
Yeah.
Which, like we said earlier, ends up being the suit that Welling wears in the finale.
And just had to answer the reason, or answer the question of how Lionel will know about Milton Fine.
Mm-hmm. Well, that goes into like when we find out more and more of Lionel being the emissary of Jor-El. Several episodes, we get more and more of that as it goes through in the season.
Well, while Jor-El was possessing Lionel and hidden, Clark's told by Jor-El that Lionel will become an oracle of all Kryptonian knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So, we actually get the Zod. Technically, he cameos sort of. He's the 25th DC Comics character to be adapted into the series.
Yes, because we get the like kind of floating body and voice of him. All right, so our next pair of episodes the next one is one of the best episodes they ever did, which is their season 5 Christmas episode called Lexmas. It's basically It's a Wonderful Life with Lex. And I really don't know if there's much more to explain, but we get to see everything that you basically think you would get in It's a Wonderful Life for Lex. But what is interesting is we have both of our kind of main characters create the same decision when it comes to Lana, or come to the same decision at the kind of major consequences to their lives for both of them. So it is very interesting. So Lexmas is, I would say it's probably like top 10 episode. It's Rosenbaum heavy is not even the word. Like it is a Lex, like as the title says, like it's a Lex episode.
There's and the good thing about the episode, or the great thing about the episode, it's all from Lex's point of view. So no Superman or no superpowered Clark. Clark is just a regular.
It's just like everything. It's a Wonderful Life. So it's perfect, and it gives like Rosenbaum a chance to play like a fourth Lex at this point. So we've had the season 1 and 2 Lex is kind of trying to be friends with them, but he's kind of like has a hard time with it. Then we get like the like crazy Lex, and then we've gotten like kind of not friends with Clark, pseudo villain, but not full on villain. This is kind of the purest goodness Lex that there is, and we will eventually get the exact opposite. And then in the second episode, Fanatic is kind of a great, like, it does that thing which every show loves to do, which is we start at the end and then we have to figure out how we got there. And
like the episode where Jonathan got arrested for trying to assassinate Lionel Luthor.
Yes, which is funny because this also has to do with assassination. So,
and Jonathan as well.
Yep. And this has major impacts in the series to come and leads. So that's episode 98. So we are only a couple episodes before like the huge 100 episode of it. So that will be our second pair in a couple weeks. So yeah.
Should I set up the preview?
Yes.
Like some context.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The preview for Lexmas was the actual WB trailer, which thank God I found it, because it's the perfect way to do the preview the episode, like give it a as it was back in 2005. And for Fanatic, it's just a brief clip of Jonathan or Lois, Martha, and Clark going to see Jonathan in the hospital, and just it's a short scene. So
so check those out right here.
It's good to be the king.
On a WB Thursday, a Lex Nose disappears in a flash.
Oh, am I dead?
No, this is your life.
You're Lex Luthor, the finest man I know.
I've never been happier.
All of this can be yours if you make the right choices.
Daddy, breakfast!
What happened?
Lexmas, a Smallville Christmas, followed by Everwood on the WB Thursday.
I moved the rally to next week so Mr. Kent can recover. Or not.
Dad, what are you doing? I can't let him stop me.
I will tell them the rally's a go again.
All right. So don't forget to check out all the other stuff we do. So on this stream, you have Phantom Zone Prime, After Dark's 3 a.m. show, the And Now Comics, which is a weekly show where a bunch of us sit around and talk about comic news and what we're reading, and kind of we did like a weekly kind of breakdown of House and Powers of X, and kind of moving past that now since that's done. And we'll find something else to kind of do that with, but definitely check that out if you're a super comic book nerd. The kind of comics on TV, if you want to stay current with us with the kind of other TV shows, like we talked about in the beginning of this episode. And yeah, what are you promoting anything currently, Alan?
Head to losthorror.com for stuff like The Legend of Heroes, Trials of Cold, Steel 3 review that Josh Miller did, which has been viewed nearly 300 times. Thanks to the publisher of the game, or the publisher of the game, retweeting the review link.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm currently working on something that is going to be the evolution of, it's going to be something building off Less Horror games.
Mm-hmm. It's the next step.
Yeah, the next step. And it's a bit of a homecoming for me, because it was one of the best times of my life. And while at the same time, I'm realizing it's a real bitch to build a website when you don't know much about building a website.
Well, luckily there's a bunch of like other website kind of building stuff to help you. And yeah, don't forget to check all of that stuff out. As always, like, review, subscribe, share with your friends. You know, that is the best thing to help out everything. If you really like the shows, share them with everybody. And
don't forget to join the Phantom Zone Facebook group.
Yep, the link, if you're listening to this, is in the show notes. Yeah, so do all that stuff, and we will catch you guys next time. I am Lou Gonzalez.
I'm Alan Mirren, and this podcast stands for truth, justice, and the American way.